can't imagine that there's a better place in the world to have the World Cup final than the New York metropolitan area.
You know, when you're talking about New York, New Jersey soccer, I could talk forever.
The community, the camaraderie.
So I remember coming home and I would have half the U.S. national team in my swimming pool.
Yo, that's one of the best soccer experiences of my life.
What's up, guys? It's Andrew. Because football, we're just a few miles from where the final of the World Cup will be. We are in New York City, and we're exploring the soccer culture and community here, as well as in North Jersey. And we're going to be experiencing and exploring all corners, all levels of the game here in the city and the wider metropolitan area. Places you've seen in movies, the places you've read about, and how they are connected to this game of soccer, this game of football that we all love. Whoever loves the game in this city, we're going to get their stories and we're going to share it with you. I want to bring these stories to you guys to show that the United States not only has probably the quirkiest, the weirdest, the wackiest soccer history, the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride, but I think we're in a beautiful golden era. And with the World Cup coming up in 2026, with the Women's World Cup in 2031, we're ready to just take this game to a whole nother level. We're excited to show you that in this episode of the Road Trip to the World Cup documentary series. Let's go.
Usually come here every home game, and the reason for the families, they're all in the soccer team, and I want to expose them to how the soccer.
St. John's, baby! St. John's!
I'm a St. John graduate, so is my sister, so I want to expose them to this is what I used to come here also.
Like I said, we're constantly returning to support our team. My kids love soccer. Their dream is to play one day at St. John's.
I always wanted to play St. John's. I really want to.
Yeah, what are you hoping for the World Cup? What do you want to experience?
We're hoping to go to one of the games. That's what we're hoping. We're hoping that the kids get to experience. Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited about the World Cup coming.
If you ever want to come on, Storm, come on.
Go!
Corner, yeah! Vince, you're on camera. You're on YouTube. Come on. No. That was not off. But it's good. Come on. No, imagine having a famous YouTuber on our channel. That's wild. You did it again. Come on. Make sure y'all remember to subscribe to Because Football, because it's one of the best football channels there are out there. God, you're kind of big. You're not gonna save it. You're not gonna save it. You're so bad. Watch us score. Good job, Big. St. John's one of the best college soccer teams out there, all right? Johnny!
Bro, look at him!
Johnny! Say hi to the fans!
Okay, bye.
Oh my God, my eyes are
Come on, you got to put it up.
Thanks! 267.
I was doing quite a few people that you're at tight place.
The keeper said, take your time.
What the heck?
They have bar? They have bar? He's going to bar?
We have a VAR here.
You're in an expensive school, you have VAR.
Yeah, here we actually have VAR. Right over there.
I think that's going to be a pen, man. And that could be the goal they need. Handball, controversial. The ref called it just outside. We're going to see, but having a great time here. This is a quintessential American soccer. Not only got the Rugrats around here, shout out to the Rugrats. Careful, push this stuff. But we got the band, the college band, we got the cheerleaders, and we got alumni loving this experience and love the stadium here at St. John's. Only fields in the U.S. that's built on top of a parking garage. Pretty crazy. A feat of engineering. Let's see if we're gonna have a feat of a free kick. Yes, come on! Come on! Ugly goal, just like I said. It's a goal! Goal! Oh, I thought I got it. I didn't get it.
Sorry, man.
You guys go to Patterson?
Hop in.
All right. Here we are in Paterson, New Jersey for our road trip to the World Cup documentary series to talk to the New York Cosmos, get a sense of what does this new version look like. There's been excitement for this announcement of the new club, but also a bit of skepticism and cynicism as the American soccer fan is very prone to be. But we're excited to talk to them today about what they have planned for the future and how this version of the Cosmos is going to impact this community on and off the pitch.
Even though I've been part of the Cosmos for a long time, over 10 years now, I still hear stories almost daily about how the club impacted them from when they were kids. Hearing these stories, how important the Cosmos were to building the foundation of soccer, not only in the New York metropolitan area, but throughout the United States. The legacy is important. The storytelling is important. What we're about and what we've been talking about is resonating with people. What they want is authenticity. The Cosmos were that in the 70s and the 2010s. And we want to do that here again.
What came to mind when the team announced they were coming back?
I had heard of it, but like I didn't know much, right? And so I go home, I tell my dad, hey, like it's the Cosmos. Like he was so excited because he grew up being a Cosmos fan. He watched that iteration, the first iteration of the Cosmos. I had a tour of the stadium for my interview, and that just like took my breath away, literally, because I live here, I live 5 minutes from the stadium. And even then, like growing up, this was full of, weeds, the graffiti. It was pretty much like kind of a dumpster.
So tell us about Paterson.
Paterson is actually the nation's first industrial city, so there's a lot of cool history here. You can see it in the architecture with people from all over the world that have so many different passions.
So the food game must be amazing. You gotta have like every option on every corner.
I believe it's like Paterson, great falls, great food, great future. So that's our motto.
What are you excited to kind of bring to the community through the Cosmos?
What it's been missing, a hub of where people can go, be themselves and watch what they love to watch. I think there's especially a lot of things going on right now in country that make it a little difficult to enjoy things, right? To enjoy the things that everyone loves. And I think especially in this city, Paterson is, like I said, a city of a lot of immigrants, a city of hard work, of pride. And I think soccer just ties all of that together, and that's what we're doing here with the Cosmos. But I think more than anything, like the city needs us to be out here and part of the community.
So what was it like then to go from like being a fan, being in lot 9B to that being drafted by the Cosmos straight out of high school, playing? Like what was that like to, put your name in the record books alongside some of those guys?
It was something that you never dreamed about. The fact that my brother Chico got drafted by them from New Jersey Institute of Technology, the only player in 3rd division ever to be awarded that honor. And it changed the world for so many kids in this area. When you saw Chico Borja on the field, all those kids that were holding on to the fence, watching the superstars, the mega stars, thought that could be me someday. And he was put in that position because he represented everything that the Cosmos tried to do in this community. Not only did they go around the world and become the first Galactico, not only did they lead in how they presented themselves on social issues, but they also led on how they brought communities together.
Hey, Paterson, all right, Cosmos. T-E-A-M-E-A, team. T-E-A-M-E-A, team. Team. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. Just a reminder, this episode is part of a 4-part series about the New York, New Jersey soccer community, and just one piece of a larger series exploring the game in all 16 World Cup host cities. If you want to see more, go to our channel and click the Road Trip to the World Cup playlist and watch another video. Honestly, with the way the YouTube algorithm works these days, watching another video or leaving a comment below is actually a better way to support us and to make sure you get more of our stories in your feed than just hitting the subscribe or like button. Thanks so much. Let's get back to the journey.
When you're talking about New York, New Jersey soccer, I could talk forever. If you're talking about players, the ones that come to mind are the ones that were on the 1990 U.S. World Cup team from Kearny, New Jersey. And I'm talking about Tony Meola, John Hart, and Tab Ramos. Pretty incredible that they came not only from the same area, but played on the same club. They helped create history for the U.S. national team. As everyone knows, U.S. hadn't qualified for the World Cup since the 1950 competition. They helped the U.S. They were on the field in Port of Spain, Trinidad, November 19th, 1989. That boosted the U.S. into the 1990 World Cup in Italy.
Take a nice bus ride all the way from Patterson to Kearny. It almost took me 2 hours. What would probably be like a 30-minute drive. We're here in Kearny, Soccertown USA. I'm about to head over to Kearny Scots Club. Traditionally, Scottish immigrants, British immigrants working in various factories brought that passion and quality for the game over. Got guys like Archie Stark back in the day. This street is a testament to the ever-changing American dream. What typically was a Scottish, British neighborhood, then Italian, had all different waves. Now I just left a Brazilian restaurant, there's a Colombian restaurant, there's a Mexican place, there's a Peruvian, and then we've still got Kearny Scots American Club around the corner. So it's holding all together. It's always changing, as the United States is always changing. I think it's something we got to remember, big picture.
The immigration patterns have changed, but the game hasn't changed. You know, whether you're Peruvian, Ecuadorian, or Brazilian, or Polish, or it's just as important, right? The game is the one true kind of thing that's held since the 1800s.
Even maybe as the neighborhood changed a little bit, the people living in a place like that stayed consistent.
Yeah, that's the currency in Kearny. If you can play the game, you know, if you play the game, you're in. If you can't play the game, or you know, it's good luck.
I had the pleasant surprise of being able to fit in a Kearny High game against St. Peter's Prep, where I got to meet some locals, and they shared stories about what makes soccer so baked in and embedded in the soccer culture in Kearny.
I hear, hey, Michael. I turn around and I'm like, hey, Mr. Miller. He's from town, played for the U.S. national team. Played for this is 1964 and 5. He's just walking his dog around the park.
Crazy. When did you start to realize something's going on in Kearny, like soccer-wise? Like this is really what we do, what we're known for?
Yeah, I think as I got to high school, I started seeing some of the older players, and then the older Thistle teams. I said, this is really a big thing. They used to bring the Celtic boys over and play in the summers, and people would mob the field around the outside of that to watch those games. So about that high school time was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to be part of.
We were surrounded by the game, whether it was Celtic Rangers in a cup match. I remember being like 7, 8, 9 years old, and someone had to bring a tape back from Scotland to play the game from the week before. Why is the Norwegian strongman on competition on ESPN on Saturday? Why do we have to go to the Scots Club in this smoky bar where everyone's drinking? Why can't I just watch it at home? You know, and funny enough, now we have that. And it's here. It can no longer be ignored.
Yeah.
You know, and the growth of the game has been exponential.
Any kind of event that was my folks were running, whether it was Thistle, so I kind of grew up in some ways in and around this club and this atmosphere. I was like, you know, playing shuffleboard or running around outside the backyard, causing trouble. And come down here before a game, before cell phones, and you're meeting, changing, getting in the uniform.
What kind of role did it play so that you get here at Kearny, and what does it look like today?
Yeah, it's always been the hub of soccer, you know, kind of the glue of the community, you know, whether it's meetings for the parents or hosting events. It's just always kind of been the backbone, the central focal point. You know, soccer people understand it when they walk in the door. It's still a big part of what we do, and we're super thankful for it. Yeah, we always feel like we do things differently here. We always have, and probably always will. Before there was a Sam's Army or an American Outlaws, there was the Kearny Scots and the Kearny Army traveling around watching our boys, Harts, Mule, and Ramos play. So I can remember being like 10, 11, 12 years old, watching the U.S. play at a high school in Connecticut, you know, with 500 guys from Kearny there. There was no Sam's Army. There was no traveling support. We were the traveling sport. We were the ones in Italy. We were the ones in '94. So I remember coming home and I would have to have half the U.S. national team in my swimming pool. You know, I had a very different perspective, and now my kids, when I tell them the stories, I'm like, yeah, the U.S. national team would come back to the Scots Club, and they're like, what? They were the guys that laid the foundation. And 30 years later, we can see the benefits are being reaped. All right, just wrapped up at the Scots American Club. Awesome experience. I feel like I went into like a mini time warping just in this footy universe, and all the people who have come through here from all over European football, like legitimate guys, just like incredible to think that this is America. There can be a place that's like very unique, but it's amazing to be here, and I just felt so welcomed by everybody here, and just really appreciate it. I've had one Because Football sticker left for like weeks, actually months. I haven't used it. I've been waiting for just the right time, and finally found the right place for it here
outside of Kearny Scots American.
Other than the diversity that we see and that is so prominent in the soccer community here, I think it's also really fascinating that in Patterson and in other cities around the area, we can tie together 150 years of American soccer history. Even though Pele had such a massive impact and the Cosmos put American soccer on a global scale that we had not seen before, it's important to notice that even in Patterson, with teams like the Patterson True Blues, going back to the Open Cup and the Challenge Cup in the early 1900s and 1800s, the immigrant communities from the UK, from Great Britain, those players brought the game initially. Every group of people who have come to this area and made it home have brought a love for the game with them.
This area is always talked about being the so-called hotbed of U.S. soccer. Before there were really the Cosmos in the late 70s, there were the ethnic leagues. The Peruvians playing against the Ecuadorians, the Italians in Trenton playing against the Ecuadorian Colombians, the Argentines going to Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Italians coming to New Jersey. And the soccer was phenomenal because most of those teams were made up of ex-professionals that came over and you went to see the games that most people were betting on. And so you had 2,000-3,000 people around a stadium. There was a lot of times where some of my brothers actually flew to Chicago to play for a game on the weekends, and it was a festival. There was food, of course, and all of that, and the atmosphere was tremendous.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. We hope you're enjoying this episode, and we've got so many more amazing stories here for you, so make sure you stick around. We're doing this all over the country, in all 16 host cities, but we can't do it alone. If you want to support, please consider contributing. You can scan the QR code on the screen or find the link in the description for our Buy Me a Coffee link, or just like, subscribe, or leave a comment. Anything helps.
It was actually thriving. It was all ethnic. The German-Hungarians, Eintracht, the Swiss, because of the flow of immigrants. The game was quite popular up and down the East Coast. That's where people like Clarky Souza, well known in the soccer circles, a good representative of the Portuguese element.
And Billy Gonzalez from 1920s and 1930 World Cup team, the Babe Ruth of soccer.
I was fortunate enough to actually play with Clarky Souza, with the German-Hungarians. And they played in that German-American League in New York. It was a very strong league and some very good players in it. Part-time professionals. They had a regular job. In the case of Clarky Souza, for example, he had a job in the knitting mills. And the owner of the club hired him for $100 a week. Clearest memory is getting changed down below the bar, which was at one end of the field. I can still smell wintergreen that you rub on you for injuries and everything else.
Yeah, muscle sores, and tightness,
and urine because they urinate in the shower. So
to tell the next chapter of the Brown family story and of American soccer history, we need to make a quick detour.
Here we are at the Estadio Centenario in Montevideo, Uruguay. This is a legendary stadium in world football because it is a stadium that hosted the 1930 World Cup final. This was the first ever World Cup held, and it happened right here.
Did you know the U.S. played in that first ever tournament? I bet you didn't even know we had a team back then, but I got something better for you. If you watch our New England episode, you'll learn the name of the player from Massachusetts who scored the first ever World Cup hat trick. In 1930, the U.S. would go on to place third out of 13 teams. Pretty successful for a team largely fielded by Brits who had moved to the U.S. to work, as in the case of George Brown's father, Jim.
And he got a job in a metal box factory in Plainfield, and they would play all of the cruise liners that would come over, most of those would stay in port for about a week or two and were able to form a team. And one day they were missing players. And so they asked him when he was on the sideline watching if he wanted to play. But he did really well, even though he had never played professionally or organized. And he was about 18 years old. So what he brought from Troon in Scotland over to the US was just a step above.
Don't ever tell the Browns or my friend James that soccer is a new sport in America. The Brown family history exemplifies just how deep the game goes back. But paradoxes are a core ingredient of the American game. So sure, soccer is a new sport for tens of millions who haven't had the game passed down to them from a parent. But that's what's so exciting about the times we're in. New fans are popping up every day. And sometimes they even support the underdogs.
Yeah, this is a Brentford bar. It gives me such a smile to be able to say that we've accomplished something like that in New York City.
I really didn't know anything about soccer. This is an amazing sport. It's so much fun. I'm following it because he's watching it and I'm watching it and we're both getting into it.
I started following Brentford because I like the pub in Brentford, the Magpie and Crown. I like Brentford, but also the B&B we stayed at, the gentleman who owned it was a Brentford reserve player back in the 50s or 60s. Okay. So, I mean, he loved Brentford, and I liked him. I went to my first match in 2008, and they were in League Two at the time. When Brentford got promoted to the Premier League, I was wondering if there were any kind of groups, and I thought I was the only Brentford fan in New Jersey.
And then we kind of got into when he got to know Charlie, and we started coming to the city.
We're here at the Red Lion on Bleecker Street, and we love it. I was on a vacation, and obviously they're close to Heathrow Airport, and we just wanted to check it out. They were in Griffin Park at the time. The Four Corner Pubs was a big kind of selling point. It was one of the most festive atmospheres I think I had experienced in the UK. That same trip, we went on to several other games, and I just didn't have that camaraderie feel that I got from Brentford. The supporters group, it's a good mix. You kind of have to have a good mix, especially when you're not like a Big Six team. You have to find different, things to latch onto as far as victories, right?
But it's just a really great crowd. It's a really good atmosphere. Lots of cool people, lots of different perspectives, and how everybody found the team. It's just like, we're the scrappy team that can.
My head is spinning. I left the house at like 7:30 this morning. I don't know how many games I've seen today, who I've spoken to. I just know I've been having a great time along the way. It's a beautiful fountain here. I'm going to show you guys. And it's a beautiful church as well. Gorgeous little park. Everybody's hanging out. It's a lovely evening. And just appreciate not only the passion of the Brentford supporters group. I can identify with that as a Port Vale supporter. Small numbers does not mean small passion. And when you meet other people who share that strange, rare obsession, it means so much. There's levels to this. In American soccer in North America, there are levels. That's what continually excites me. That's what hopefully you guys are loving from this series as we're in New York and Jersey, all over the country. We got Philadelphia coming, Miami, Atlanta, amazing stories there. New England, we were there. We're gonna go to Mexico, hopefully all 16 cities, because there's so many incredible stories to tell. So I hope you guys are loving it. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me energized, even though it's been like 4 13-hour days in a row. My feet have never been so sore, and I've never taken so many subways either. I feel like I'm getting to be a pro at the subway system here. So, and again, because football, I'm starting to give New York a little more credit, let's say. Again, salty Philadelphia, and give them a little more credit. But thank you guys for being here and watching. Thanks for being a part of this. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace.